Hey guys, John here. A little while ago, I watched a video by a YouTuber I really enjoy, a movie critic on YouTube named Mr. Coat. And the video he did was a Patreon requested question, answering question, where a viewer of his asked him about why is it that a lot of people, I guess like on the internet and whatever, will be forgiving of certain cliches and like quote unquote unoriginality in some movies, but will be more forgiving of it. Like will be forgiving of it in some movies and then not so forgiving with other movies. And I kind of wanted to use his video as kind of a springboard to talk about just the subject matter. This is sort of a response to his video, but sort of just me giving my own thoughts on the concept because it's something that I've thought about for a while. Because I found myself being a person who, in a lot of instances, definitely dislikes cliches and unoriginality in movies, TV shows, forms of media. But then at the same time, I find myself sometimes enjoying things that other people call cliche and unoriginal. So I kind of think about, well, why is that? And I just kind of want to use this as a discussion. And interestingly enough, one of the movies that Mr. Coe talks about in his video that the Patreon viewer brought up was a movie called The Secret Life of Pets, which is a animated movie by Illumination. I saw it in theaters back when it came out, and I thought it was a decent movie, like a 6.5 out of 10 movie. And people bring up, well, like, oh, it's cliche. It's very similar to Toy Story. And that was kind of the movie that kind of got me thinking about this issue about, like, why do I sometimes, tolerate cliches and unoriginality in some stuff, but not others? And there's a few reasons I think that I just kind of want to discuss that. And I do agree with what Mr. Code said that sometimes people are just kind of unfair and basically just will ignore the lack of originality in some things, just because maybe it's something that they like or something that they grew up with or whatever reason. Um, and just criticize it for other things just for whatever reason. But this is kind of just me talking about me personally. When a movie like, say, The Secret Life of Pets, I watched the movie and I enjoyed it. I found it funny. I thought the animation was nice. I thought it was cute. The voice acting was fine. So I think that's kind of one of the first things. Like, does a movie have other redeeming values that can make you not so much forgive the unoriginality, but make it so that it's still, a solid movie in spite of those issues, in spite of those problems, the lack of originality. So that's one factor, I think, why I personally might be okay with it in some situations than others. And this can apply to movies, TV, whatever. Um, and then there's another reason, and that basically has to do with, I think, well, this can be broken down into a couple parts. Um, there's the cliches. And it can be broken down in a couple parts like, what are the cliches? What kind of cliches? And how cliched are the cliches? Because a lot of times we talk about this, it's not just like for me personally, it's not just like a movie similar to another movie, but the thing that really bothers me is cliches. Because sometimes like a lot of things like kids, family movies, kids, family shows, you can see a lot of the same cliches and story beats over and over. Like I remember watching this movie, Open Season, and I found it very similar to other movies like, say, Shrek, for instance, the first Shrek film, and just like where you got this kind of buddy movie about two guys, and like one's like the annoying sidekick annoys the other main character, and they eventually become friends. And you've seen this in a ton of movies, and I think you get tired of the same kind of stories over and over, and there's also the issue where it becomes predictable. So you kind of you lose interest in the story. You don't really care about what's going to happen next because you know what's going to happen next. Even if the story is not one that's like, even if like the movie or show or whatever is not something that's entirely, relying on the creativity and originality of the story, it's still annoying to see the same stuff over and over. But I think another reason why I might not mind something like Secret Life of Pets compared to other things is because one, like, I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with a cliche like a jealousy story, for instance. Jealousy is a common, human emotion, and there's nothing really about it in a lot of movies that I think is like inherently um, like immoral or illogical or unrealistic or anything like that. And if cliches are like, those things, immoral, illogical, unrealistic, unbelievable, annoying, then that's a reason why you're really going to dislike them. Mr. Coe himself talked about a cliche that he dislikes in one of his videos like a couple of years ago called the misunderstanding that often appears in romantic comedies. And he basically talked about how the characters don't act like real people in this scenario. They don't like sit down and talk with them. They just kind of have this misunderstanding just to create kind of unneeded conflict in the movie. Well, not unneeded, but a conflict that doesn't feel earned, that doesn't feel realistic, that doesn't feel believable. And that's the kind of stuff that people kind of have issue with. But I think another thing with, once again, something like Secret Life of Pets, that movie, for me, is that it's not that unoriginal. It's not that cliched. I think that's another thing. It's like where you could have something that's not the most original thing, ever in an episode, a show, movie, whatever. But at the same time, how unoriginal is it? How many times has it been done? Like I remember watching this episode of like the Brady Bunch a while back, and it was an episode basically about characters find characters find like a bunch of money, and they gotta like kind of and they hold on to it for a little while, and some of them fight over it, and they have to kind of go through this whole thing where they're figuring out like, like what do we do? Like if someone wants the money, the person who discovers it, and it's like that story you've seen a million times. You see it on shows like, well, like see, the Brady Bunch was a show in the '60s, and I remember I was watching this with my parents, and I asked them, was this story as cliched back then as it is now? Now, obviously, it's not going to be as cliche because it was in the past, but my parents confirmed, yeah, even at the time, this was a pretty darn cliche story. So, and you see this on a lot of shows where they have plots, they have just kind of these stock plots that are done over and over. But of course, it also can be good when you do something different, like take a cliche, turn it on its head, do some kind of new twist with it, something interesting that you've never seen before. Give it something a little bit, like different, like anything. But when you have certain stories, episodes, shows, whatever, where they're doing stuff that you've seen, like pretty much the exact same basic story setup over and over and over again, that's obviously going to be a problem. But if you've just seen it a few times or not quite as many times, you might not mind it much. So, yeah, I guess that's all I want to say about this. So, yeah, I guess that's just kind of some of my thoughts, kind of explaining why. And I'd be curious to like ask what you guys think of the topic. Feel free to check out Mr. Coates' video, link in the description. Check out his channel. He's a good YouTuber. Um, does a lot of interesting movie reviews and stuff like that. TV reviews sometimes. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment or even make your own video response telling me what you think about this issue. Write a tweet, whatever. I'd be curious to hear what people think about this issue, that concept of cliches and originality, and why you think some people might tolerate it more than others, why you might tolerate it sometimes more than other times. Let's have a little discussion here. Alright, that's all I gotta say. Bye.